Hi everyone, delonewolf here, and in today's video I want to show you guys my latest Banished town. It's not yet built up to its maximum potential. You can probably see it on the minimap that there is still some potential on the left side, but personally I'm very happy with how this one worked out. And I don't really plan to go much further than this. We have almost 1,000 adults here, and I've basically got everything under control and the way I like it. So one thing that I always repeat whenever I make a video about Banished is that this is one of my favorite games, and it is absolutely the favorite game when you're looking to play a game and you're looking to relax a little bit. This is unprecedented. There's no other game that I prefer to load up whenever I'm in need of some energy. Absolutely perfect for that one. So talking about this town, the idea that I had was to use the most useful pattern that I've found so far in the game. It's a 12 by 13 pattern. I call it that because if I take a road, I can show you guys that it's 13 wide and 12 deep for instance, a crop field that I create within the regular squares that I use. This means that in another square I can put down 6 houses and a storage barn, and I keep building up from that pattern. I found this to be the most stable and the easiest way to actually build up from the start when it comes to Banished. But the idea for this town was to use the pattern but not overblow it. You could really push the population and the food production to its very limits with this pattern, but here I wanted to have some nice healthy greenery, some lovely forests in between all of these housing centers to switch it up a little bit, and also to find more balance, which I must say has worked very nicely for this town. So the very start, you always start with a storage barn and a stockpile of the same size, and it's right here. These two, they're still there, the original first structures of this Banished town that has now grown to a thriving city with almost with more than 1,000 people, actually, if you count the children there as well. And so the very start, as always, is put down these 6 houses, put down the extra storage barn, and then use the pattern for maybe a couple crop fields, maybe an orchard if you have the patience. But then nearby, what you do want, of course, is a forester's lodge, a gatherer's hut, very important early on, and then a herbalist as well at some point, of course. And so what I really like about this one is that I did surround lots of these housing centers. Even here you can see just 2 housing centers that are then surrounded by a forester's lodge here, a forester's lodge here, and right off the bat, because of my starting position, this is basically my favorite part of the town here. So you've got the starting housing, 4 housing units basically, but they are surrounded by these lovely forests that produce wood, that produce food, and actually I love all the small bridges that connect here, and this is what I really enjoy. I've got this forester's lodge. It includes parts here, but all of these trees also get sown back, grow back, get cut down, and they use these little bridges to get there, to grab those resources and then bring them to the stockpiles and things like that. And so you can see it's full of activity here. We've got people going over here to hunt, to gather, to look for herbs, to cut down the forest, to maintain it, and then right up the bridge, there we go. They're starting to come into the living center where we're also producing some food from farms and all of that good stuff. So I love the fact that we've got this little creek down here that moves into the river, and then also my favorite fishery here as well. Basically just out of range of everything, we've got this little outcrop of that, well, it's not an island, but of this segregated part that is basically a natural reserve there, where I put down a lovely fishing dock, and they have their own set of bridges that connect back to the living centers. Now down here we had a little bit more room, so we went with an actual market and a couple more living centers, but we kept it up here. We've got another lovely big forest that has all the room it can in order to produce some food and some wood. And after that we went up to the left side, kept going with the lovely forest here, but at some point of course you do need to to grow some food as well. And you don't really have here, for instance, there's not enough room to have an at least somewhat efficient forestry lodge or anything like that there. That's when the pattern really does shine. You can decide on more housing. So here we have 3 housing units and only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rooms for fields. And then I also started putting some pastures amongst them here for some chickens and things like that. And then up here we've got a couple of 20 by 20s so that we can actually grow enough animals to split this up in case of a need for more individual animals to seed new pastures. But then up here potentially I could still work on all of that, so that's still the potential of the town. I'm not planning to do that, but here again you've got this lovely, after you go here, you know, you could do your shopping, you've got all the storage barns, we're producing some food. This feels very insulated, but you go over this bridge and there you go, you've got another small living center, some more food production, and then down here you can reconnect behind the hills, behind the lovely inner forests, I would say, of this town. And I go back down here, a couple more bridges coming to the church, coming to some facilities like a tavern, and then back here too, well, a bit more of an established community with its own market that goes on here, but that is lovely in the way that it's surrounded by forests here. I also love these 2 forestry lodges to basically make a whole green downside of this island here. And this is lots of woods, and then in the middle of that you've got some decently compact wooding living places with its own food production. These guys are basically self-sustainable and potentially actually producing lots of extra wood related stuff for, of course, for the trading post. Now moving on to the left here, what you can see is that I went with, well, I kept trying to fill this up with the pattern. Here I was constantly hesitating, right? Do I want to put, I think at some point I would have put down an extra forestry lodge, right? I think that would make sense just to keep the wooden edges going here. But of course down here we've got another nice 20 by 20 with lots of sheep that are being made here. And this, I mean, it fills the gap. It's not very efficient. I like how it looks, how it's nothing but this housing pattern, but it actually has its forests around there as well. Going down here then we reached the bottom of the map, and here again I decided to split things up. I could have kept pushing the pattern, right, which you can see down here. It's not too overwhelming. It's not like we've got 4 squares in one direction and then 5 or 10 squares in the other direction. It's a decent amount of living space, where of course they always produce their own food right next to each other. They even have their own market here. But then I decided to switch this up and put in a nice big forest with, again, forestry and gatherer's hut and things like that, that you have to cross if you want to go to these guys. And here again, 3 living centers, their own food production. These guys are decently self-sustainable. They even have their own market. They've got their schools, they've got their own hospital, tailors, all of that good stuff. But this makes them a little bit isolated, and people need to take this lovely forest road if they are to rejoin with the rest of this banished town. And then here we actually, I love this one. This is probably my favorite little area to live in, because you feel isolated because you've got this big hill here with their own tunnel. In order to get here, they're only growing extra chickens, and they're fishermen up here. But I just love the way that this living center is basically right at the edge of the river, and then on the other side they've got these lovely forests where people are working, hunting, gathering as well. And then they've got their own bridge that connects them. They can choose to go for the tunnel down here to these suburbs, or they can choose to take the bridge, have a nice walk in nature, and then join back up here towards this market. I love this. I think that this would be the most amazing set of houses to live in down here at the edge of the river. I think that must be really cool. And after that, unfortunately, it was a little bit of choosing how to fill things up. So down here I went a little bit larger scale. As you can see, we do have a set of 3 up to 2, 4, 7 even. So 3 by 7 of the 12 by 13 pattern. And then down here we've got another massive forest. Actually, this is much more industrial in scope, but not optimal. Also, this herbalist here is not very optimal, although these woods here should end up becoming older woods. But yeah, I've just felt like I needed to do something with all of this potential, and so that's what I went for here. A big suburbs straight back up towards the river with yet another trading post, and then down here a very big forest that's maintained by lots of people, and they basically have 2 avenues to get there. I like this one. But again, my favorite part was the start here, because it worked out so nicely. Small living centers with a couple of farms and fields to work, and then surround that by those lovely forests. Worked out really great. Up here we did the same thing, right? We just made some living centers, then decided to switch it up, make a nice forest right in the middle of everything. And then here we've got some nice cows that are multiplying up here. A couple of churches, had to fill that up in some more secluded spaces. And then up here we did go for a massive suburbs, as you can tell here, 12 by 13 pattern on 5 by 2, 4, 6, 7, a full 5 by 7 with a market in the middle. This is really massive food production, massive living. So these are the great suburbs of this Banished town. But what I kept going here, so we've got this lovely little tunnel giving into only a forest, not even producing any food here, but keeping that green lung alive here in the middle of the town. And then on this side, more forests, more forests. This is very intense. I like this one actually. And then up here as well, more forests. Just keep everything surrounded by those lovely greeneries. We had to keep going, do something up here. I didn't feel like adding more forestries up here would help a lot, so I kept going with the 12 by 13 pattern here, switched it up with yet another forest, and then down here we had to do something, so it is of course a pretty large suburb. I'm not all too happy with this. Maybe I should have switched it up a little bit more. But overall, I am super happy with this Banished town. It was also much more balanced than most of my other ones. So the one danger with the 12 by 13 pattern is that you can create too many jobs. I usually go with 3 people working on one field and 2 on an orchard. But if you don't switch it up often enough with forestries, and you don't go completely overboard with that as well, you can actually, during a demographic winter, really get into trouble when it comes to the amount of workers available. Now we're at 944 adults and 245 laborers. So if I give them, let's see if I can still find something for them to do like this, you get a lovely train of people going for that stone. That after a while, but I just love how alive this Banished town here feels. So here there's another one. We could buy all of that stone, but as I've said, I basically feel like this town is finished for me, and this here is my favorite part of this Banished town. Look at all of these people going over those bridges. Sometimes it's kids, sometimes it's people that are bringing back food. Now they're off to chop wood and things like that, and I just love the fact that this forestry lodge goes right up until the edge of all of these buildings, and actually that really makes that forest push into this little part of town, which was really the whole point. And then after that, of course, yeah, it's a bit bigger, it's more living spaces, but you also have nice big green forests here as well. Absolutely love this one. So I could keep going, but here again, as you can see, basically the best potential is to just fill this up with some nice 12 by 13, maybe a little forestry lodge here, and then here again, 12 by 13 forestry lodge doesn't make all that much sense, I think, unless you go over here. So we could keep going with this, but it never gets as small and cozy. I think it's thanks to this little creek that gives out into the river that makes this place really unique here. And was awesome. Banished, guys, I keep saying it, but it's one of my favorite games. If you're looking for something very cheap that's gonna get you lots of fun, I've got hundreds of hours in these that you don't have to rush into either. I've been playing this down over several months, just, you know, don't exactly know what to play. Well, let's fire up the Banished town, work a little bit more on the plan. Then could be that I don't play at all for a couple of weeks. then I find myself really wanting to work on a part of the town and then just keep going that way. It's a great little game, definitely something that I would highly recommend. And this has been my latest project in Banished. I think I'm gonna call it quits for this one, close to 1,000 people. Down here we also have the boarding house and the town hall, so we basically have all the buildings and multiples of all the buildings. So I don't feel the need to keep working on that and pushing it to its very limit. This is usually where I'm okay and where I've done what I want to do with this one. So we'll see how it works out for the next one, but this has been my Banished project. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and I'll see you all next time.